as the legend foretold, welcome to yet another episode of John Works Too Much. Now, I want to tell you about something that happens to me often, and I'm flattered by it, but then I realized what they were actually saying, and I was less flattered by it. So, probably about 6 or 17 times a day, somebody says, John, you have a real face for radio. I'm like, oh, thank you. But then I realized they were saying, you can't see your face on radio, therefore they're saying I'm ugly. And I'm like, oh, thank you. At least I can find a career. That's so awesome. Still flattered, just less flattered because I'm like, oh, you're saying I'm ugly. But I already knew that, so it's not a shocker. Today, we are going to replace this siding and the soffit and fascia and then paint it. We're going to put in new columns and a new front door. It's going to be beautiful. Let's get a little bit closer here. So sometimes things get rotted out, and then when they do, then critters get in, right? Wasps, squirrels, possums, raccoons, what have you. Sometimes small elephants or like a giraffe can reach his head up in there and he will like look for eucalyptus leaves and stuff like that. It's facts. Don't even argue it. Don't look it up. Google doesn't know anything about this. All right, so Andrea was just telling me about how she was attacked by some squirrels, and she saw some squirrels. There was a little pack of them. I think you call them a pack of squirrels, and they were riding little Harleys, little ones. They were baby squirrels, and she stopped and flagged them down and was like, hey, would you guys like some Reese's? And they're like this. That sounds good, but it was squeaky because they're squirrels. And then as she got closer, she leaned in to give them some Reese's, and then they all pulled out weapons. I mean, like nunchucks. They had brass knuckles, little squirrel brass knuckles. They had switchblades and butterfly knives, all kind of things. And they're like, "Now give us all your money." And she's like, "How about some Reese's?" They're like, "That will suffice." And then they split up the Reese's and they ate it. And they were like, "Thank you. Have a wonderful day. This is delicious."
I wish.
That is a partially true story. Partially true.
I wish that would came out like that.
Almost none of it. Almost none of that story is true.
He did.
But some of it.
He reached his little hands out.
He was very cute. And this is the actual story. There was one squirrel, not on a Harley, no nunchucks, no brass knuckles. And she's like, oh, how cute. He's like, I'm being so sweet. What do you have there to eat for me? And she's like, nothing really. I've got this Reese's. And he's like this. Oh, that's horrible. That's poison. Why do you people eat that? And takes her finger and goes, ah, 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 ah. And she shook him off. And then there was a colored gentleman who looked down and said, I told you not to touch that squirrel. Anyway, we're going to get to work.
Bad decision.
Oh, hey there. So, this morning, we stripped this siding trim off and everything, and we put on new Hardie siding, and we put on new soffit, new fascia. Home Depot ran out of fascia, so we're gonna have to go make another trip. So we did up the thing some, up the gable end, but not over this side. So that still looks icky. Over here, let's walk a little closer. Watch out for your teeth there, Drew. Over here, this is what it did look like. Less beautiful, okay? You can tell that mold and water, rot, termites or whatever have all had their part in this. But we're about to give it a facelift. We're like plastic surgeons, but with Hardie, which is less plasticky. So you just give it a little nip and a tuck. It's gonna be beautiful. Now, at lunch we were talking, and I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes we talk about things that are tasteless. You're eating delicious food, but we're saying tasteless things, okay? I was talking about the fact that I went and saw my dad last night. You know, my dad's been homeless for 50 years or something. And then there was somebody that needed a ride, and so I gave her a ride to Dallas. And so then we were talking about, Justin said that he didn't like when people came up with scams and lies whenever they're asking for money. And he said, if you're just honest with me, like, hey, I need this money for crack, he goes, I'll probably give it to you. He's like, in fact, if you tell me that you're trying to get it for crack or heroin or something, I'll probably give you enough money that you can overdose. And then look, it's a short-term loss, but it's a long-term investment because you won't be asking me again because, you know, you'll be dead, or hopefully you'll, you know, rehabilitate yourself somehow. So it was not a nice thing to say. We did laugh. We are tasteless in our delicious lunches, but maybe instead of being mean to homeless people that ask for drug money, you just give them enough that they kill themselves. Don't actually do that. That is not nice. Don't actually do that. We're gonna get back to work. Oh, interesting that you're here. I didn't see you there. So we did some siding this morning. It's been challenging because there's a boat in the way. Right behind this fence, there's a boat, and the boat, I think the tree grew around the boat and the fence grew around the boat. So it made it very tricky. made me think about some things. One of the things I was thinking about, so I asked the crew, in It Ain't Nothing But a G Thing, what does the G stand for in It Ain't Nothing for a G Thing? Now, naturally, I started thinking, oh, it ain't nothing but a good thing, or it ain't nothing but a genuine thing, or a gracious thing. I was thinking of words that I could relate to, right? But then I was like, wait a minute, maybe it's guava. And I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. Then I started kind of considering the source, and we're like, maybe it ain't nothing but a ghetto thing. But we looked it up, and it ain't nothing but a gangster thing. So I guess that's like, that's underwhelming. A little disappointed in people. I feel like you're better than that. You know what I'm really tired of, Andrea?
What?
I'm really tired of all these rap songs that go on and on and on about being a good dad, taking care of your family, working hard, going to church, trying to do the right thing for God. Like, it just gets so exhausting. I'm like, I know, I get it. You want to be a good person. I wish they would have more rap songs that like bragged about their money and their bling and their hoes.
Booty.
Yeah, and their big booty hoes. So then we were wondering, like, with the apple bottom jeans, right? Is that a brand of jeans, or is that like the shape of something? We think it's probably the shape of something. But then I was like, what does this girl look like that she's got the apple bottom jeans? She's got boots with fur, right? With the fur. And then she's got the Reeboks with the straps. I'm like, so boots is plural, Reeboks is plural. That means she has at least 4 feet. Is she some kind of a centaur walking into the club? No wonder everybody's looking at her. It's weird to me. It's weird. Speaking of things looking, what did the redneck say when he had a deer with no eyes? Do you know? I have no idea.
I got no idea.
Hey there. So, as you can tell, we're taking off this fascia, and it is wonderful, and the soffit and stuff too. We're making it better. So if you pan over this direction, oh, that looks nice and new. You pan over this direction, maybe not as nice or as new, but it will be soon. All right, so I think that we've gotten spoiled. And here's what I mean. It used to be you would take a picture, you would take several more pictures over time. Eventually, you'd go and have them, processed, developed, whatever, and then you get them back, and you'd be like, that's a horrible picture. But you wouldn't know, right? And if you're really cool, like, man, I developed my own pictures, then you go into the dark room and you process them and put them in different tanks of whatever, water, I think. And then you'd be like, oh, this is a really horrible picture. But here's what I learned when I spent a lot of time in a dark room. And sometimes people would open the door, like, don't open the door. You're gonna let all the darkness out. Oh, you're wondering what's going on with my head? This is so embarrassing. So I had people from time to time, and they're like, I bet I could get you to drink or do drugs. I'm like, I would rather get smashed over the face with a sledgehammer. And so somebody finally presented me with the opportunity, and it was one of these choices, like, would you rather pee a marble or crap a softball? But in this case, it was, would you rather drink or do drugs? That was one option, or get smashed in the face with a sledgehammer. And I'm like, the sledgehammer thing. I mean, at least I got no addiction. I'm no stranger to pain. I've been married twice. So he reared back and, just swung with everything. It was one of those where they like lunge up and then like rah, double punch right in my forehead with the sledgehammer. It's kind of like Thor would. And it knocked me to the ground, I'm not going to lie. And I was like this. You hit like a girl. Hey there. So you're probably thinking, how can I be John-tastic like John? And by that I mean, a lot of you probably don't know how to use a skill saw properly. I'm sad for you. I feel like your dad didn't do his job. Maybe he wasn't around. I don't know. A couple things you need to come closer. You see this line right here? That's where you follow. If you follow that line, if you notice the blade is right behind it. Okay, now, if you go on a 45, watch this. Now the blade goes on that line, like magic. And it even says on your guide, 0 degrees and 45 degrees, okay? Now in this case, we're going on the 0 degrees. Now, what you want something supporting it so that you got the stuff falling off the other side. So if I had this in the middle and I was pushing down, it would pinch it and it would bind up all the time, and I'd be like, what's this problem? This saw is so stupid. Wrong. You're so stupid. Okay, so you want to have the stuff falling off to your right, to the right of the blade, okay? I don't know if you guys know your right and your left, but here's how I figure it out. If you do this, the one on your right makes an R if you turn it upside down and backwards like that. I don't know what this is. All right, so you just follow the line. It's important to hold this guard up. Don't put your fingers in there. Apparently, that's bad for you. That's worse than playing with fireworks. Okay, here you go. And I can't emphasize this enough, don't try to plug in a cordless tool. It doesn't have a cord. It's stupid.
Oh, hey there. So today we're out here working. I got myself to facelift, if you can't tell, and we're gonna do the same with the house. The homeowner actually wanted to keep it this way, but I went ahead and sold him on the fascia, so we're gonna do it anyway. Come on. So we're gonna tear down these gutters right here. We're gonna replace all this, and we're actually going to go ahead and replace the door. So, and just in case anyone didn't tell you today, I love you. Jeez, how do you not get a brain freeze?
Oh, hey there. Simple. Same way Joe Biden does.
How's that?
No brain. So, not nice. That's not nice. He has a brain. I assume. I haven't met him in person. He might be a robot or a CGI, maybe like a deep fake or something. Anyway, we put the face on. It was really great. As you can tell, I've got a rare skin condition. It's very rare. It's called work. And a lot of people don't have this condition, but I do. Now, I want to apologize because somebody hacked into my account and made a video where they pretended to be me. This catfishing is ridiculous. So, that wasn't me earlier. I didn't get a facelift. I don't look any better. I didn't shave. I didn't cut my hair. None of that stuff is true. That was actually a good friend of mine named Eric, and he's a wonderful person, but he was just trying to impersonate me and said, I can be like you. And I'm like, okay, go ahead. And then he did. I'm like, that was remarkable. It's truly amazing. Your acting skills, sir. Like, I want to be more like you, pretending to be me and make me better. And he's like, that sounds like some Inception kind of stuff. I'm like, it is. So I do want to tell you a funny story. I've got a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention any names. Let's just say her name is Kay Hatfield. That's probably too specific. How about Kim H? Anyway, so Kim decided, John, why don't you have a girlfriend or wife? I'm like, well, I mean, look at me. Old, fat, ugly, stupid, boring, bald, mean, and short. I'm poor, and, you know, I work too much. And she's like, yeah, but you're a great guy. You should really get, like, a girlfriend or something. I'm like, whatever. It's not going to happen. Like, I got bad luck, and you don't understand. So then she takes it upon herself, and she finds my information. This is the same girl that signed me up to, like, run for Senate. So I'm running for Senate now. Thanks, Kim. She also decided to catfish other people and made dating websites with my name and face, and then pretended to be me and talked to somebody. However, it backfired on her, and now the girl that apparently was interested in me is now interested in her because she was talking to her and not me. So she's in love. I'm like, I told you I have bad luck with this stuff. We're gonna get back to work. Oh, hey there. So, it's Texas and it's July and it's 109 degrees in the shade, 6 feet over grass. And so, my customer today was like, John, I'm having a hard time with this heat. I'm like, okay, why? She's like, she gestures vaguely in this direction. I'm like, what's the problem? She's like, this portal needs to stay closed to keep the heat out and let the cool stay inside. I'm like, what about in the wintertime? She's like, it's the opposite. The portal keeps the heat inside and lets the cold stay outside. I'm like, this is a magical portal. She's like, yep. I'm like, huh, almost like a door. And she's like, so we're gonna go and put one in. Because, you know, that's what we do. So how do we do that? Well, I'll show you. We take the old door out and we put the new one in. That's it. It's wonderful. So we're just gonna put the new door in and we're gonna nail it and we're gonna put trim up and caulk it. And you're gonna be like this. And I'm gonna be like this. It took moments, seconds. So this video takes longer than the actual doing of it. So Anyway, we're pretty excited about that. Now, here's my question to you, and it's so very serious. Aren't you tired of being a slave to your addiction? Stop already. Be healthy. Enjoy the rest of your life. It's not as good as you think. Seriously, stop. Oh, hey there. Yeah, it's been moments, so come closer. Now, you get the door hung, right, which we did, but then you got to make sure that it's done right. So this right here, see this gap right here? See how it's, can you see that? Mm-hmm. That's called your reveal. Now, you can tell that right here, it's a little tight. So watch what happens. When I open the door and I close it, it hits right there, okay? This is a real common thing, especially if you have foundation problems. So how do I solve that problem? I want this to go that direction. So if I put screws over here, then no problem, right? So allow me to demonstrate using nothing more than the power of my mind and of course this drill and these screws. So I'm gonna take this one out, put it right over here, and then here we go. You ready for this? Now let's see if that worked. What do you think? Oh, look, it doesn't rub. How cool is that? It's like magic. Simple adjustment. Almost anybody can do it. Even a 2-year-old can do it. Maybe not a 2-year-old. Maybe like an adult can do it. Somebody that can handle a drill. That's really it. And by the way, if I haven't told you yet today, and if nobody else has told you, I love you. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to whoever invented this kind of packaging. Wow. I mean, really. It's called a blister pack, and I think it's because it gives you blisters. There's like no good way to do this. It's like, oh, open it with scissors. I'm like, scissors aren't gonna do anything to this. How am I ever gonna, I guess I'm just gonna give up at least one other doorknob on this one. I mean, oh wait, hold on, I got a knife. That was gonna be better. All right, I will show you something. So, you see how this has a code right here, 3923? Oh, I probably shouldn't tell you what the code is. This is at a different house. This is in Nebraska. Anyway, let's say that you got a bunch of doors at your house and you're like, I want all the doorknobs to match and just have one key for all of them. You match this code, ding, 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 on all the doorknobs, and they should be in the same box, in the same package at Home Depot when you buy them. And then you're like, oh, that matches all my doorknobs. But if you don't have it, they won't match. And that's your lesson for the day. And when I say day, I mean moment, because I'll probably make another video because, I don't know, I keep getting responses, so I'm gonna keep on doing it. I'm probably gonna die if I keep opening this thing. All right, love you too. Oh, hey there. So, obviously there's an impersonator here earlier, which I'm okay with. Look, if all of you guys wanna make videos where you impersonate me, I think it's hilarious. Just tag me, I think it's funny. Okay, so you remember this morning we had underwhelming fascia, and we took that off and we put on overwhelming, or at least whelming fascia. Thank you, us. We put in new columns, we painted the garage door, we took out the door and put in a new door, and then we painted. So we painted all of this, and you can't tell that it's done because it's not done. We still have to paint the trim, so we're gonna do that, and we still have to paint the door. So that's tomorrow's task. But today's task, you know, I think we did a lot. We also painted the sides. It's really, really, you can't see them, the other gables. It's truly amazing. Now, so oftentimes people are like, somebody said something really rude to you on Facebook, or something that's like, I don't know, needs attention. And I'm just like this. And they're like, how do you just, I'm like, it's easy, watch. Like, but it needs to be addressed. I'm like, does it? Probably not going to change their mind. They're probably not going to change my mind. I don't want to get in a fight or argument. I don't really care that much. You have your opinion. I will allow you to have your opinion. You know why? Because that's how freedom works. Okay, so let me demonstrate. I have an opinion about something. Now, here's what everybody wants to do. You shouldn't have that opinion because, and then here's a bunch of links and things, reasons why you shouldn't have that opinion. And then here's me. They probably shouldn't have that opinion. That's dumb. And I'm like this. And I scroll on. Or I just change the subject. Only if they ask, what's your opinion? Then I'm like, you probably don't want to know. And then if they're like, I really do want to know, then I'm like, my policy is this. I won't give you any kind of criticism unless, number A, I have an actual solution, and letter 2, I'm willing to actually help you. which most of the times I don't, and I'm not. So I'm not going to criticize because I don't think it's nice. I think it's just complaining, and I'm not about that life, and you shouldn't be either. So when somebody says something nasty, negative, whatever, I'm just like, play nice, kids, and I just go on with my day. Because here's what happens. If you take the spectrum of people and you're like, I wonder how many of these people love me. Let's say that's 7.5 billion. But you meet maybe, I don't know, in my case, 3 or 4 million in your life, significantly less than all the people in the world. Of those 3 or 4 million people that you've met in person, this many people will love you no matter what you do. You can do no wrong in their eyes. Like your mom probably loves you no matter what, even if she's, you know, a meth head hooker, right? Not that anybody I know has a meth head hooker for mom. At the bottom of the list, there are people that are going to hate you no matter what you do. You could save the entire universe. You could like help them to win the lottery and they'd still be like, why didn't you do it sooner? How come I had to suffer all that time? They're going to hate you no matter what. Everybody in the middle, I kind of couldn't care less. Like one way or the other, they're like, if you're nice, they'll be nice. If you're not, whatever. The end. The people at the top, why are you trying to impress them? They're going to love you no matter what. The people at the bottom, no matter what you do, you're not going to impress them. And everybody in the middle is like, meh, just live your life. Hey, if you have a pool, I miss you. Love you. I don't do foundation repairs, but I want to show you what to look for in case you are like, I wonder if I'm having problems with my foundation. Let me show you what to look for. Let's say you've got brick, which this house does. And you see how you get this, like, there's cracks that kind of come up like this. And then they kind of go over here, and then they kind of go up like this. You see all those cracks in the brick? And then they go down on this side and stuff. So what's happening is that something is settling. It looks like this right here is settling down. And so then that has to be raised back up and reinforced, okay? Now, other things to look for above your doors and windows, if especially when it's seasonal, like if it's raining a lot, then it opens, or if it's not raining a lot, it doesn't open, you know. So your doors will get very crooked, and so will your windows. They'll be hard to open and close, and they'll be hard to open and close. And then sometimes you're like, but it got better. That doesn't mean it's fixed. So here's what happens. In Texas, North Texas, there's a lot of clay, okay? So when clay gets wet, it swells, and when clay gets dry, then it shrinks back, right? So what happens is it swells and shrinks and swells and shrinks, and this house is, I don't know, 50 years old or something, and so it keeps doing that, and then eventually it starts to shift a little bit, and then when that happens, then it cracks the brick, because the earth is stronger than hollow bricks. And so that's bad, right? I've seen very extreme cases where stuff is just completely fallen off, or where it's 7 inches out of level in one bedroom, and all kind of bad things. So fix it, okay? So here's how they do it. They go around the perimeter, and around the perimeter of your concrete, there's a beam. I'm sure you guys have seen it when we pour, and it's about 1 foot wide, and it's about 2 feet deep. And they get underneath that beam, and they dig a hole, and they put a pier, right? And they put that, and they get a jack, and they push it down into the ground, and they put another one, they push that down into the ground, and they keep doing that until they hit bedrock, or close enough to bedrock, and then it starts to lift the house up, and then they get up to where it's level, and then they shim it with metal shims, and they do that every 6 feet around until they fix your foundation. Now, it's interesting that in a region that you will have a lot of foundation problems. Like East Arlington has a lot of foundation problems. It's also interesting that in certain regions, people have foundation problems. What am I talking about? If you don't get your foundation right, everything above it is going to have problems, okay? And if you don't have your foundation right spiritually, then you're going to have a lot of problems. And you'll be like, I don't know why I keep having all these problems. I'm like, because you're not right. You're not sitting square. You're not sitting right. And so everything is off kilter because of that. And you keep trying to make adjustments for it. You keep wondering, like, what's the problem? Now, probably a lot of people don't know this. You know, that in the South, a lot of times that's referred to as the Bible Belt. That's the southern part of the United States of America. It's referred to as the Bible Belt. And it kind of goes along a path, and you can see, like, there's a lot of churches in here. But why is it called that, Drew? Do you know?
Nope.
Okay. So there was a couple of brothers, John and Charles Wesley, and they felt a deep conviction that they were like, we are going to preach the gospel to people. And so they went around, they were traveling preachers, and they went around and they traveled to different towns up and down the South, And there are towns to this day, there are counties to this day that are dry counties. They don't serve any alcohol because John and Charles Wesley preached in that town 150, 200, whatever it was, years ago. And so that's interesting. So they literally set a foundation for that town. Now, does everybody in that town even know why they're a dry county? Probably not. But because of the work that they did, then to this day, there are people still living off that, which I think is interesting. Get your foundation right. All right, we're gonna get back to work. Oh, hey there. So, as you can clearly tell, we have finished. We put in the new door and we painted it, and it's beautiful. We put up the new columns and we painted those. We painted all the trim, we put up the shutters and we painted those, and we did all the way around the house. I'm not gonna bore you with all the details, but it looks beautiful. Now, I've got a couple quick questions for you. First of all, and this is because I don't understand things, that's why I ask you guys, so please comment. Is violins, is violence, is that the plural of violin? Like, man, that's a lot of violins in that movie. Because I never see anybody like playing the violin. It's confusing to me. And sometimes I see some movies and I'm like, huh, they talk about sax and violins, and I'm thinking they're gonna be playing sax and violins, and then nothing. It's just a bunch of violence and people get naked. Weird, weird stuff. So here's what I really am thinking about, and that is, what if weathermen are time travelers to the future, and then they come back, but they have really bad memories, and so they're like, I think tomorrow it's supposed to rain. You're like, you were here yesterday. They're like, yeah, I wasn't paying attention. You're like, your only job is to tell us what the weather's gonna be like. And they're like, you're gonna pay me either way, right? And they're like, yeah.
What would you be willing to lose to get these answers you seek? Would you give up everything? Eli is gentle. Don't you remember? You thought that was a dream, but that was me. I know this is hard, but you asked for the truth. Jacob looks around the hall. No one seems to be in the hospital but them. All the normal busyness has ceased completely. There's an eerie silence. You're kind of freaking me out. How did you know about that? Eli continues walking and Jacob follows him into his daughter's hospital room. Jacob gets emotional. Look at how calm she is. How I wish that were me instead of her in that bed. Eli cringes. Funny you should say that. Suddenly, a voice comes from above in Rose's room over the PA. It's the judge's voice from the courtroom. His voice is deep and ominous. He speaks with authority and conviction. It is time. Show the man the truth. Jacob Mason, you are about to have the answers that you seek. Nothing is what you think it is. Nothing. Available on Amazon and Kindle.